One thing that you probably don't know about me is that I have a lifetime goal of visiting at least 100 countries before I nope out of existence. I've had a lot of time to reflect on the 10 trips that I'd like to do the most, and of course this is an entirely subjective ranking, so don't be offended if your country is not on this list. Because let's face it, you're probably gonna see some really weird shit on here. Of course this list is subject to change, but if it's any different in a year, I suppose a remake is in order. Of course, feel free to leave your own rankings in the comments, because there is no doubt that everybody's list will be different. I'm interested to see what you people have, but for now, here's my list. Enjoy! The first trip on this ranking is to North Korea, and no, you did not hear me incorrectly. I mean North Korea as in the same North Korea that Mr. Rocketman comes from. The inclusion of it on this list kinda makes it obvious that I have a death wish, but please, hear me out. One of the things I love about traveling is seeing some really weird shit. Yes, North Korea is super dangerous and authoritarian. I mean, they literally bug hotel rooms and place undercover agents near tourist groups. But I doubt I would be able to call it forgettable, and that to me is what would make a great trip. Since I would need to get a connecting flight through Beijing, China, maybe that would also be included in the same trip if the layover time is anything substantial. But interestingly enough, there is actually a North Korean embassy in the UK. It's literally just a house in a normal London street with some shady Men in Black-esque activity. At number 9 on this ranking is Rwanda. While it's known for its genocide, not as many people are aware that Rwanda has since undergone huge reforms, and is now statistically the safest and most litter-free country in Africa. Plus, there is a company that literally transports blood bags to hospitals across the country via drone. It doesn't get much more awesome than that. I'd also like to eventually do some humanitarian stuff in that general region of Africa, and given that Rwanda borders some of the poorest countries in the continent, Burundi and the DRC, I might also string that in with the same trip. On top of all of this, Rwanda has some great wildlife, probably second in Africa, only to Madagascar. Coming in at number 8 is the Patagonia region, which spans the south of Argentina and Chile. This is a perfect example of visiting a place purely because the scenery is batshit crazy. You have crazy mountains and glaciers, and of course, the southernmost permanently inhabited town in the world. If there was a real-life equivalent to reaching the map world border, this would probably be it. There is so much to do in this area centered on the geography alone, including but not limited to hiking, horse riding, jeep safaris, and seeing fucking penguins. If I was really pushing it, I would probably also find a way to visit South Georgia and the South Sandwich Islands, which I talked about a lot in my really long and boring video talking about the 14-ish British overseas territories. And that would really double down on the isolation end-of-the-world-esque feel to the trip. At 7th place, I have chosen New Zealand and Hawaii. A bit of an odd combination until you consider that New Zealand and Hawaii are 23 hours apart in time zone, meaning that I could celebrate the new year of 20 Jesus knows what in New Zealand, catch a flight from Wellington to Honolulu, Hawaii, and celebrate the new year of 20 Jesus knows what again, as the flight would cross the international date line. Not only would it be pretty badass to have claimed that I have celebrated the same new year twice, but both destinations would be pretty nice to visit in general. New Zealand in general has some pretty awesome landscape, including some glaciers, and Hawaii is warm. What more could you want? Next at number 6, I have another middle of nowhere frontier. Longyearbyen in Svalbard is located 78 degrees north or 12 degrees into the Arctic Circle, making it the northernmost permanently inhabited place on the planet. It was either this or Tromso, Norway, but Tromso is too normal once you take away the Arctic Circle stuff. On that, Svalbard is one of the best places on the planet to actually see the Northern Lights, and given that I would want to visit during the winter periods, it would be likely that this would become a reality. Svalbard also has some other pretty awesome things, such as the International Seed Vault, where even North Korea stashes stuff. And there's also the slight risk of being mauled by a polar bear, although I would not want to do this because dying is illegal in Svalbard. Before we get into the top 5, here is a list of honorable mentions that I wanted to include, but I also didn't want to make my ranking number too weird and unrounded for the YouTube algorithm. Madagascar, Japan, especially the Tohoku region, Llanfair Pwllgwyngyll Llanfair Gogogoch in Wales, Tit, Algeria, Dafuk, Sudan, Registan, Samarkand, Uzbekistan, and of course fucking in Austria. Breaking the top 5 is Bolivia. This is probably one of the first few countries that I added to this ranking, and for pretty damn good reason too. Because Bolivia is quite a bit distinct from its South American neighbours, in that its population is much more indigenously weighted, making the culture that bit more unique and compelling. And like many of the places on this list, it has some pretty amazing scenery, such as in one of the two capitals, La Paz, the highest capital city in the world. On top of this, they have a crazy huge salt lake which, when coated in a thin film of water, acts as a huge mirror, making it look like as if you're floating if you drive across it, or simply just stand right in the middle of it. This is probably not going to be a part of Bolivia that I'll ever get to see, but one can hope. All that I can be sure of is that you will never see me on the North Youngest Road, very often cited as the most dangerous road in the world. Oh, you thought I was done with the super cold deserts in the middle of fuck knows where? Yeah, no. Number 4 is McMurdo Station in Antarctica. Or really swap that out for any station in Antarctica. This one isn't like the other places on this list because, well, it's even more surrounded by death conditions. But I don't intend to visit an Antarctic research station just so I can get a video of me flipping off a penguin. Well, yeah, that too. But I'd also want to actually be stationed there to work alongside the scientists who stay there for months on end. Being stationed with a bunch of awesome climate scientists and glaciologists while I spend tens of hours problem solving pretty much sounds like a dream to me. Unlike the others, I put the odds of this one happening at about 0.1%, but I can dream. Breaking into the top 3 is Alberta and British Columbia, Canada. This one actually contrasts with the number 4 spot quite nicely, as this is a trip that is likely going to happen in the very near future. LTX is run in Vancouver every single year during the summer, and some guys that I have known for years, but have never actually met in person, go there. Finally, meeting these people in person would undoubtedly trump most trips that I have in mind, and I can't really wait to see if this will become a reality. On top of this, it would be the first time that I fly to a foreign country totally independently, let alone go to the Americas. I imagine that a lot of the scenery in the Rockies will be awesome to look at, but unlike many of the other places on this list, the location isn't really the focus. In second place is Iceland and Greenland. These two are paired together specifically because there are only 3 places you can get to Greenland from, one of those being Iceland. This is so high up because Greenland is a perfect example of Inuit culture with Scandinavian influences, not to mention that its geography means it has some interesting challenges to overcome. I talked about this in my video called The Logistics of Greenland if you're interested to check that out. Iceland also brings pretty unique things to the table, including the Great Geyser and many volcanic hot springs which are dotted all over the country, such as the Blue Lagoon, which is pretty huge. There's even a part between 2 tectonic plates where divers can go, which sounds freezing and insane, but apparently it looks incredible. Oh, and let's not forget the Penis Museum in Reykjavik. But easily in the first place is Turkmenistan. Those of you who have watched my videos for a while likely know what this country is about, because I have posted a video talking about the Turkmen regime, which you can go check out when you're done with this video if you want to. But it is undoubtedly the most slept on regime on the planet. Most people don't even know it exists because of its incredibly closed off nature. The capital, Ashgabat, is one of the most expensive places to live on the planet, and it has the most marble buildings of any city in the world. Not only that, but there are a ton of incredible monuments undoubtedly built out of ego. The weirdness of this country extends outside of the capital with the Darvaza gas crater, which is a gas deposit in the middle of the Karakum Desert that collapsed in on itself over 70 years ago and has been burning ever since. This is just the epitome of weird regimes, and thus it firmly earns its spot at the number 1 place I want to visit before I hecking die. So that concludes the top 10 trips that I would like to do in my life. If you guys have your own top 10 list or your top 15 or whatever the hell, please be sure to leave it down in the comments because I would absolutely love to read what you guys have in mind. But yeah, those are my opinions. Don't get offended if your country wasn't on here, because like I said, weird shit. But if you did enjoy today's video, please be sure to leave a like, comment, and maybe even subscribe for more. The channel has been going absolutely crazy, blowing up lately, and I couldn't be more thankful. So thank you, and I guess I'll see you next century for another video.